I'm going to talk about why people choose video games over dealing with real life. I'll get into detail of why this can become a pretty big problem later down the line. We'll also teach you how to quit video games for good. At the start, let me talk about how I got into video games myself. Just so you know, I'm free from playing video games or being addicted to video games for well over 2 years right now. So pretty proud to say that, so I believe that I'm qualified to talk about this topic. How did I start playing video games? Well, my friends in school introduced me to a brilliant game called RuneScape when I was like 7 or 8. I played this game for a very long time. I probably quit when I was around 21. So you can count how many years that is. It's like well over 13 years of playing one single video game. I also played other video games that weren't as addictive for me because I had that one video game I was addicted to. And pretty much some of the days I would spend well over 12 hours playing this one video game. And if you know how addiction works, you pretty much neglect all of your other responsibilities in life. Responsibilities for relationships, for health, you name it. I remember eating dinner downstairs and my parents were talking to me and I just, basically without saying anything, mid-dinner, mid chewing my food, run upstairs and just so I can click the mouse on my computer just to keep the character in game so it doesn't log out, and then rushing back downstairs and eating my dinner again, and every 3 minutes I would do that so the character does not log out. It became pretty obsessive. Even I taught my girlfriend at the time how to play RuneScape. I taught her how to click the button so it was basically like a bot. And that's not my proudest moment because that's how addiction controls your life. And all relationships that I had I pretty much destroyed. Well, people that were in my life at the moment understood or maybe didn't really get so touched by it, but just looking back at it, it was pretty bad. Whenever I had a conversation with my parents, I would be completely absent. I would not know what they're talking about. All I could think about was that video game. When I was in school, doing my schoolwork, all I could think about was getting back home and literally just turning on my computer and grinding on RuneScape again, just leveling up and seeing all this, all these levels, or just simply standing in the bank. If you're familiar with the game, all I would do is stand in the bank and chat to players. That was my form of escapism. Why did I play that game? Why was I addicted for so long? Well, with years and life experience, answers tend to come to you and you realize why you did certain things. I realized that I was playing this video game for the sole purpose of escapism. Escapism works in different ways for different people, but for me, I was escaping my responsibilities in real life. I was escaping problems that I had, maybe some family conflicts, and pretty much escaping responsibilities of dealing with being a teenager, building social connections outside. And when you have an addiction, you pretty much just make it a habit of coming back home, turning on your computer, and just playing a video game. It became a problem later down the line when I was around 19, 20. That's when real life started to hit. When I was working a job already and I was earning my own money. I was still in a relationship, but I was still playing video games for well over 5 hours a day. And when you're in a relationship and you're playing video games for that long, your partner tends to go sideways and just not really be as attracted to you anymore. Because let's face it, for men, we need purpose. We need to look like we're doing something. We need to have a sense of direction. But when you're playing video games for 5 or more hours a day, you really don't have a sense of direction because you're literally just wasting time and you're being a degenerate. Later, that turned into a complete disaster because my partner left me and that was kind of the end. After maybe 1 year of coping and still playing video games, I decided to finally quit. It was a decision that I made quite easily, and I'll get into detail of how I quit video games in the end of the video. And also I'll get into how you can quit video games too, because let's face it, it's all purely individual. Everyone has a very individual experience with playing video games. And yeah, so let's get into the first reason of why people choose video games over real life. And this is also my reason for playing video games. Escapism. You tend to escape real life's problems. You want to shelter yourself from the real world. Let's face it, we have many mistakes that we can make in the real world, in real life. And if we make a mistake in the real life, if we blunder, the consequences can be quite severe. They can be quite bad. And this can be quite scary for many people. Making mistakes isn't easy, and facing those mistakes is also not easy. Making mistakes in a video game is completely forgiving. It's zero consequential. There's no consequences of having a mistake in a video game. Because even the most extreme mistake that you can have in a video game, let's say death, if you die in a video game, you just respawn. You might loot some stuff, but you literally respawn and you're still alive. In real life, well, we all know we can't do that. But living in such a reality in the video game, and video games do become a reality for us, if you're watching this video and you're currently addicted, you may see a video game as more of a reality than the reality we currently live in, because you're making it a habit. But yeah, mistakes in video games are mostly forgiven, and we cannot live like this. So you tend to escape life by playing video games, and this is the number one reason everybody plays video games, because responsibility as an adult or teenager is quite scary, and we tend to shy away from this scary stuff, and we just want to play video games instead because it's less scary. Now, the second reason. This is also a reason that I found really attractive for playing video games, and it's achievement and progression within the video game that is so realistic. People who made those video games are geniuses, but they're also the worst people in the whole world, because they keep you engaged in that video game so you cannot quit. You know, when you level up in the game, let's say RuneScape, because that's my pretty much only example. When you level up in a game, you're like, oh, 50 strength, oh, 51 strength, oh, like 60 attack. You see all of these levels, like visually. You see every single level that you get. Every achievement is visualized. It's all like rewarding. You get rewarded for every action that you do. Real life doesn't work like this. In real life, you don't physically see any reward or like a thing come up when you achieve something in real life. And our achievements take a lot longer in real life. When we go to the gym, let's say it takes us 5 years to build our dream body. In a video game, that can take 5 days, 10 days to achieve something that you really want in a video game. So the rewards are so frequent in video games, and they're not frequent in real life. So that frequency keeps you engaged. You keep wanting that next reward in a video game that you do not get from real life. So let's be real. Rewards in real life take a long time to get. If you want to do something in real life, it takes hard work, physical sweat, and some challenges. Also, you may encounter some things that you may have a mistake in. You may make a mistake in some things in life, and this can be scary. But in a video game, you can pretty much just take the risk with very little consequences. And this can be quite attractive for us gamers. So yes, achievements and progression has been perfected in video games to keep you engaged. Those dopamine hits every single few hours. You're just wanting to keep coming back to those rewards. Also, building a habit within a video game can be quite easy. Because let's say you're fighting a boss, right? You're fighting a boss or some kind of monster, and you're there for 3 hours, and you get some kind of a drop from that monster. It's like 5 million gold pieces. And you're not a stupid person. So you're like, okay, I've been here for 3 hours and I got this drop that's like 5 million. So if I stay here for 30 hours, which is like 3 days of gameplay, I can make myself, like 50 million gold pieces. Wow, how much can I buy with 50 million gold pieces? So building these goals is so much easier than in real life, and it's like fast forwarded. It takes literally 20 times less or even 100 times less to achieve something within a video game rather than it is in real life. So this can be so attractive that it just keeps you engaged, and I'll tell you why this is a problem. Because you can become used to receiving those rewards that you keep getting, and then when you decide to do something that is a little bit more strenuous in real life, you do not get rewarded the same way, and you just go back to playing your video game. I'll also tell you one downside, or the major downside to your escapism. If you keep escaping the real life's problems, well, then you're just not going to achieve anything in real life. You're not going to do anything that is meaningful to you in real life. You're also not going to build any social connections because you're escaping. And let's be real. 50 years ago, if you were to do the same thing as you do right now, which is escaping the real world, escaping life, you would be practically seen as insane. You would be deemed as clinically insane if you were to escape real life. Like back in the day, 50 years ago, people would only have a few ways of escaping real life, which would be like to lock themselves away and like be poets or writers and just writing a book or something. Or maybe they would like drink themselves to death, or maybe they would partake in drug taking. But now we have so many outlets that we can just do, and literally can play video games for 50 hours a week or even more, and it seemed acceptable. But back in the day, it would be seen as clinically insane because it was so uncommon. And that brings me to my third point. You are so addicted to video games because you have a sense of community that makes it seem that it's normal. Now, there's a pretty big community for gamers in this world. Everyone is a gamer to some extent. Everyone plays video games. I don't even know if I know anybody in this world that hasn't played a video game in their lives. Even to say who hasn't had a console like an Xbox or a PlayStation. Everyone had one. Everyone was playing video games to some extent, but some did get addicted and some didn't. And people have addictive personalities, and if you choose your addiction to be video games, then it can be quite harmful. So that sense of community makes it seem normal. It gives you friends. You build friendships within that community, and those friends are just like you. They play video games for a long time, and you feel like you're not alone in the world. That's why it doesn't seem unnormal to play video games 10 hours a day, where it would be quite, like I said before, you'd be seen as clinically insane if you were to lock yourself away in a room for 10 hours a day. Like, you'd be seen as clinically insane. But now it's normal because there's a whole community. People make like gaming keyboards, gaming computers, gaming screens, gaming everything. There's like gaming everything. Like every item you can think of, there's a gaming version of it in this world. So it's pretty inclusive. So you feel like you're not alone, and it's quite normal. Well, I'll also tell you what's quite normal in today's day. I'm not going to get into such controversial things, such as, I'm not even going to say. But what's also normal is pornography. You are taught in school, or maybe not you, maybe your brother or little sister, or your child, your future child, will be taught in school that pornography is completely normal, that masturbation is completely normal, and that you should do it. It's incentivized. People say that you should watch it, it's completely normal, but little do they know, or they actually do know, that it's killing your brain cells. It's literally making you a weak man or woman or whatever it is. It's instilling your brain with complete Satanism, and it's not good. So many things are seen normal in today's world that are not normal at all. And gaming is not normal because literally all forms of gaming is escaping the real life. And if you were to put in 2 hours of the gaming that you do into your real life, like building an actual skill, well, you'd get pretty far. So that sense of community sometimes keeps us very engaged. And like myself, I loved a sense of community within a game. I would literally stand at a bank, like not even killing any monsters or leveling up. I would literally stand in a bank in RuneScape talking to random players for like well over 10 hours a day sometimes. literally just talking to them and conversing. And that gave me a sense of friendship, which was so falsified because, let's face it, I've never met any of these people in my life, and none of them remained my real friends. So the likelihood is that many of them will not remain your real friends, and if you want them to have your back, they're not going to. I'm not going to speak too much about the adverse health effects of playing video games, but there are many, because you're literally sitting in a chair for many hours a day. What can happen from that? Well, there's two possibilities for our weight. You can either become very skinny from not eating enough food, or you can become quite fat from eating too much food and not moving around. It all depends on your metabolism and your circumstances in life. Also, you're not moving around, so your heart is not pumping much. Like, yes, you're getting the adrenaline from your video game, but you're not moving around. You're not being mobile, so your body is deteriorating. So these can become quite big problems in the later stages of life. One thing I noticed when I played video games for such a long time in my youth, I completely neglected my health. And in the main form of not eating the correct foods. I would eat the most quick foods, like foods that would take me literally no time to make. I would eat only those foods, because all the time I would just want to spend on a video game. Like, everything was XP waste. You know that term? Everything was XP waste. Cooking was XP waste. Conversing to your parents was XP waste. Going to the gym was XP waste. Everything was XP waste. And that mindset completely destroyed me, because now I actually suffer from quite bad immunity. Whenever I encounter some kind of like little wind blowing my way, I instantly get sick. And this might be completely from my neglect of my health when I was younger. I was playing too many video games and eating too much junk food. And I would literally not cook at all. And I'd pretty much not eat. I was at the other end of the spectrum. I didn't get fat from playing video games. I got too skinny from playing video games. And I would completely neglect any form of eating. Like, literally, I could go without eating for many, many hours a day. Like, I could probably survive on one meal a day just by playing video games, because I was so consumed by the video game. I was so entertained by it. Like, the dopamine hits were just insane. So that brings me to my most important point. Leveling up in the game is obviously a complete false reality, but when you level up in real life, and many of you do realize this, but maybe some of you don't, when you level up in real life, this is eternal. You keep this forever. Once you reach some kind of stage in life where you build some kind of delayed gratification, you build some kind of habit that takes a long time to form, that is a good habit, you keep it for life. So this can be you going to the gym, or you learning how to play an instrument, learning how to meditate, learning how to do some kind of skill that is in demand in today's world. So let me put it to you in very simple terms. If you play a video game for 3 hours a day, for 5 days a week, which is pretty low on the low spectrum, this is like 15 hours a week. If you put in 15 hours a week into a skill that is in demand in today's world, then you would have yourself a pretty good skill that you can give people and provide a service. You'd also make money from this service, and you'd be pretty much set. And all it takes is 3 hours a day to build some kind of skill over maybe a couple of years. And if you spend all of this time playing video games, well, you will not have enough time to build that skill. Leveling up in real life is eternal. In the video game, your account could get deleted or banned. You don't know. That video game could get erased. Internet connection could get cut. You never know. World War III, internet connection. It's all different wars nowadays. If you have no internet, then what are you going to do? What kind of skill will you be able to provide? How are you going to feed your family? How are you going to feed yourself? How are you going to feed your dog? You won't. So, one thing is in life that we all want fulfillment and some kind of sense of purpose. Video games do provide us some kind of fulfillment, or falsified fulfillment, falsified purpose. They're very good at doing that. But especially as men, we need purpose, because without purpose we will become physically depressed and we'll be in a pretty bad spot. So if you keep playing video games and never do anything in real life that is meaningful to society, meaningful to the world as a whole, that is a positive thing for the whole world, if you don't do any of these things, you will never achieve any sort of fulfillment in life. So when you're 85 and all you've done all your life was just play video games and do simple tasks that amounted to nothing, then you're going to regret every single decision you've made in life, and you're not going to feel like you've accomplished anything, because we need to do some pretty grandiose things to feel a sense of accomplishment, to feel a sense of purpose, to be fulfilled in real life. And as men, we need to work really hard to fulfill ourselves, because we're still primal creatures. We're still monkeys. We need to do really difficult tasks to be physically fulfilled or mentally fulfilled. Otherwise, we're going to be depressed and we're not going to feel good at all. So now I'm going to get into this segment of how you can quit playing video games. And I hope you made it to this stage of the video, because it's not edited. It's pretty boring to watch. Like, there's so many other videos you can watch that are edited to an extent of like complete like dopamine overload, but I'm not doing this for a sole purpose of giving you a break from all these dopamine hits. And probably 95% of you have clicked off this video, but those who stayed, I congratulate you, because it's pretty difficult to do. Not many people can do that in today's day. So if you have stayed to this stage, please comment down below and say, I've stayed until the 22nd minute. So, how to quit playing video games. This is pretty much the most important part of this video. Number one, to stop playing video games, you first need to recognize and acknowledge that you have an addiction to video games. You need to be honest with yourself. You need to say, okay, I have an unhealthy relationship with video games, and I need to prioritize different things in life because they will provide me more value than playing video games mindlessly. What kind of benefits am I getting from playing video games all day? What kind of things am I improving in? I'm just getting better at that one single video game. Well, if I was to do something else in life for that amount of time, maybe that time would convert in me getting better at multiple things in life. Because let's give an example. You play the guitar, you will actually become better at multiple things in life. Not only that you'll be better at guitar, you'll also be better at many things. So be honest with yourself. Stop telling yourself that you're not addicted. If you have, if you're playing video games for 3 hours a day or more, you have a problem. You have a problem and you need to address it, and you need to say to yourself, I have a problem, I'm addicted to video games, how do I stop? You need to ask yourself that question. Be realistic. Don't just say I'm going to stop and not do anything. Ask yourself the question, how am I going to stop? Put a plan into place. My second point, from personal experience, I have quit video games cold turkey. I didn't say I'm going to give myself 1 hour of video games a day. I didn't give myself any of that. I quit cold turkey. I just completely stopped playing video games, and I've never played a video game after that I was addicted to. Completely quit cold turkey. It doesn't work otherwise, because if you tell yourself I'm going to play for 1 hour a day, that's a cope. You will play for more than 1 hour a day, and you will make yourself reasons to play that video game for more than 1 hour a day. You will make yourself some kind of excuse, and that plan will go out the window, and you'll get back to playing 3 or more hours of video games a day pretty much instantly. So quit cold turkey. This is the best. And when you do resume or you relapse and you play a video game, keep yourself accountable. Have a habit tracker. Maybe write down on the wall, like a streak. How many days have you not played a video game in a row? So on a wall, write down Monday to Sunday, maybe for 30 days, and give yourself a tick for every day you haven't played a video game. Whenever you miss a day, give yourself some kind of thing that you have to do. Give yourself a punishment. Like, do some kind of task that you don't like to do. Keep yourself accountable. This is a good way of being real. So you need to create and write down your plan. So whenever you decide to quit video games, you need to just literally create a plan from A to Z. How you're going to do that. How do you plan on quitting video games, and what are you going to do? So your plan could be, I'm quitting video games today. I'm going to delete every single video game from my computer. I'm going to uninstall all the video games. I will buy a timer. Like, there's timers that exist that you can plug into your wall, and then you can plug in your computer socket into that timer, and you can set yourself how many hours you allow yourself on that computer. And you can be quite honest with yourself. You can set like 2 hours that you're allowed to be on the computer overall during the whole day. You set yourself that time, and you can spend that 2 hours on the computer, not playing video games, just browsing or doing something else, maybe doing some real tasks, building a business, whatever it is, and keep yourself in check that way. Tell somebody too. So if you have parents that are living with you, tell your parents that you're deciding to quit playing video games. Tell them honestly, say, look, I think I have a problem with video games. I don't know if you recognize that, but I'm deciding to quit. So can you keep me accountable whenever you see me playing video games? Like, keep me accountable, and maybe let them do some kind of punishment to you if they see you playing video games. And this can be like you giving them like $50. When they see you playing video games, maybe you don't get your allowance for this week if you're still in school, if you're still young. So give yourself some kind of punishment and tell your parents. They can keep you accountable. And this does help. These little things do help. And I hope your like grubby little fingers won't like sneak into your room and just play video games while your parents don't see. Like, this is not going to hurt anybody else but you. You're not playing your parents. You're not playing anyone else. You're playing yourself. You're not going to get anywhere with this kind of strategy. You need to identify your triggers. So this is a very important point on how to quit playing video games. You need to identify every single trigger, and this comes with every single addiction in your life. You need to identify what triggers your addiction. Now, this could be some kind of problem in real life that you're escaping. So escapism provides you that trigger, and you go and play your video game. So you need to address that, and you need to journal. You need to journal and put your thoughts down on paper and really see like what's the deep root of this problem. Maybe it's something from childhood trauma, maybe it's something more simple, but this is solely up to you. I do not know what kind of problem you have, but you need to address that yourself. If you don't know how to address your own problems, if you do not know how to find your deep-rooted problem, well, I suggest you going to a therapist, being completely honest with them and saying, look, I have a problem with video games. I don't know what my triggers are. I'm severely addicted. I need to stop. It's ruining my life. I'm becoming fat or too skinny, whatever it is. Can you help me? If you have some kind of disposable income, a therapist costs what, like $50, $100 an hour. It's a good investment because look, that $2,000, let's say, that you spent on the therapist, trust me when I say, you not playing video games, you'll make 10 times or maybe 100 times that if you put your work hours that you like play video games for like 3 hours a day. If you put that into a skill, you're going to make way more than that. So it's so worth it. So identify your triggers. These can be stress. Maybe you're stressed from your job or college or work. Manage that stress with meditation or other forms of relaxation. I've recently made a video about relaxation and all about relaxation, how you can learn how to really relax. Watch that video to learn how to relax in real life, not in the video game. Because again, let me point out, you do not relax while playing a video game. Your mind is completely stimulated. You're not relaxing, you're stressing. Video games could actually be the cause of your stress. So go figure. People could be the trigger. Friends. Maybe you have a group of friends that you play this video game with. You could be like on Discord or Skype, or I don't know if Skype is a thing anymore, but you could be on Discord and your friends are calling you, oh, like, you know, Johnny, log on to this game, like we're going on to the game at 8 p.m. And this might trigger, you might be like, oh yeah, sure, fine. Like, even though you don't want to play, you go on to the video game and your friends, they're actually not your real friends. You may have not met them in real life. They will not have your back if you encounter some troubles. They could be actually toxic people. You don't know them personally. But they could be keeping you in that loop of triggers. They could be triggering your addiction, so you need to address that. All of these triggers are purely individual and they are solely up to you to identify. Boredom. Boredom is pretty much the biggest trigger. Because whenever you're bored and you have nothing else to do, and when you have built a habit of playing video games every single day, like I said, like my habit was, every single time after school, automatically go upstairs, turn on my computer, onto the game. My fingers knew how to do everything. It was pretty much muscle memory, and I was playing that video game within seconds. So boredom. Whenever you get bored, it's like taking out your phone. Every single time you get bored, okay, on your phone. You don't even realize taking out your phone. You're just bored, you take out a phone. You have to identify whenever you become bored, you do something else. You resist that feeling of boredom. And being bored and doing nothing actually is more beneficial than you playing video games for like even however long you play video games. Staring at a wall for that amount of time is more beneficial because it'll at least provide you some kind of self-reflection or maybe meditation, you can call it that. Staring at a wall is more beneficial than you playing a video game. Keep that in mind. Or watching your phone or going on social media. Literally staring at a wall. Now that comes to the last point about quitting an addiction. Quitting video games. You need to replace your addiction with another habit. So basically, you need to change your habit, which is you playing video games, to another habit. You need to now see how long you played that video game for. So let's say it's 3 hours. I've used that amount quite frequently in this video, but let's say it's 3 hours. You need to find something else that takes the same amount of time. So let's say it's a sport. Maybe you want to join the gym. Maybe you want to join some kind of martial arts. Maybe you want to start a business on the computer, like some kind of remote work. Depends on what you're interested in. You need to self-reflect, stare at a wall for a couple of hours, and literally ask yourself that question. What am I interested in? What are my hobbies? What do I like doing? Maybe it's something from a video game that you like doing. Like, if you like chopping trees in a video game, maybe you like chopping trees and you want to be a lumberjack in real life. I don't know. This is only an example. But you need to self-reflect and see, what do you enjoy in the real world? What's even remotely excites you in this world? What do you like doing? This is what you should focus on. This is what you should spend your time doing. You should look at some other people. Look at other people. What are they doing with their time? What are they doing with their spare time for 3 hours a day? You could copy them if you maybe find something they do fascinating or interesting. Maybe you want to learn a skill, an instrument, whatever it is. Replace that time that you play video games with something else. Otherwise, you're going to completely just fail at that plan and jump back into playing video games. Because if you don't replace your video game time with something else, you will become bored. And that boredom will turn into you triggering into playing that video game. So it's a loop. You need to cancel out that boredom and then replace your habit with something else, and then the loop continues. Now you're doing something else in a habit loop. Make it seem attractive. It has to be something that you like. It cannot be something just random that you don't even know exists. Well, you could find it enjoyable, but most likely you need to do some self-reflection and see, what do you enjoy from life? Like, what gives you a sense of purpose? The best thing to do is actually to see what is a beneficial thing for today's world. What can provide people a service? What can be good for this world? What provides like positivity to this world? What can be good for people? If it can be a skill or a thing that you can do that can provide good, literally go into a charity and volunteering for 3 hours. If you want to do that, because it will again go into other things. You will find other pathways through that. You'll meet people, socialize, build social connections, and you may find something that you actually like. Instead of playing video games, you can do so many more things. And I'm so grateful for quitting playing video games. It's literally the best thing I've ever done. was stopping playing video games. Now the next thing I need to do myself is to stop watching YouTube videos for too much. I'm completely honest with myself. I know I have a problem with watching YouTube videos for sometimes too long. Sometimes I watch them for 1 hour, sometimes 2 hours a day. For me, this is a problem, and if I eliminate that, then I will have 1 hour to 2 hours spare every single day. Now some days I'm good. I don't watch any YouTube videos, and I'm pretty proud of that. But I follow my own advice, and I try to quit these addictions. Now, being a YouTuber, this is quite difficult because the app is open all the time. You check your analytics, you check your stats, maybe someone commented on your video, you reply, oh look, something that you find interesting. You click on that video, even if it's educational, even if it's something remotely associated with your line of work, you still should not abuse these things. And for me, it's YouTube. I'm completely honest with myself, and hopefully by the time I upload the next video, this for me won't be an issue, because it's only time they address this. This is the end of the video. It was a lengthy one. I hope that you stuck around to the end. Now, it's not easy to stick around to the end, especially with this format of video making. I don't edit my videos. I don't give you any sort of dopamine with any edits or cuts that you could get from other videos with pretty much the same titles. But what this video does differently, it keeps you in a good state. It keeps you engaged in a different way. It doesn't feed your monkey brain like other videos do with all sorts of dopamine. You already get enough dopamine from playing video games, so maybe this video is the best thing you've done this week. Comment down below if it is so. If you enjoyed this kind of content, consider subscribing to my channel, liking this video. If you want to actually get one-to-one help with me, then consider booking a coaching call. Like down in the description, I've linked a link for Calendly. It's where I host my coaching calls that are one-to-one sessions where we can address your problem and try and solve it one-to-one. It's more individual, and as humans we are all so individual and we need individual help at times. This video can only do so much. So consider booking a coaching call. Thanks for watching this video, and as always, peace.